Hello, YouTube. So all that stuff is still going on in Egypt. I've been listening to a lot of footage from like all the propaganda places like Al Jazeera and all the Associated Press and all those. Just listening to that, seeing a lot of raw footage. The best thing about the internet, even though they tried shutting it down, a lot of the people have put up their own videos online and are showing stuff. I don't know how much of that is true, but getting multiple perspectives on a specific event kind of gives you more of the information uh, of what is going on. And yes, a lot of those sources could be leading you elsewhere, but I kind of look at information like that as you take everything that's different and just kind of set it off the side and look at what's the same throughout all those broadcasts. Well, we know these people are rioting. The people are fighting against what's going on. Um, I heard that the police force was going against their own people, and the police force were not. It's kind of like when the G20 was here, they spent all that money to bring in police from different regions, and they have no investment in the community of Toronto. So those police can be as violent as they want, and then they just go home to their own little police force, and it doesn't really affect them because they're not pissing and shitting in their own backyard. They've done it somewhere else. That's the great thing about the capitalist mentality is that whatever they can do, they can shove it off onto another place. So I heard that a lot of these police officers that were brought in had nothing to do with the community at hand. They come from everywhere else, so they were beating and running over their own people. That, let's face it, they're their own people. They were running and doing that stuff too. And the army has more of an investment in there because the army itself, a lot of the people from the army live there. Their families are there. Their livelihood is from that area, so they kind of back the Egyptian people. This is just what I've been getting from it. Now, thinking about the leaders, there's Mubarak and there's that other one that the U.S. Is kind of backing. I forget his name. It starts with a B. But I've been listening to what a lot of the people want. They don't seem to. They don't, one, seem to know. They have a few ideas of who they want to put in power. Um, and I'm looking at it. If Mubarak stays, they're screwed. If Mubarak leaves, that opens up a power, kind of like this vacuum there, and lobbyists from other countries, United States, Europe, wherever, can push their own agenda and get their own guy in, which is that other guy, potentially, could get him into power. It's just all these people would back not for the people of Egypt, but back for the businesses that are going to get in there. And even if they get these really good men that they know have done a lot for their country, they get them in power. The only way that those individuals can see about getting them out of starvation and poverty and joblessness is by getting investors. Those businessmen come right back in and take a different angle. They use manipulation to get in there. They lobby them. They say that we'll give you X amount of money if you do this for us. And even those good men will be tainted because they're trying to find a way in this corrupt paradigm to fix the problem that this corrupt paradigm has made. It's absolutely crazy. So even if they were to get in like a really good man or woman, um, it will eventually go back to the way it is right now. Maybe it'll straighten itself up for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Maybe there'll be kerfuffle in the beginning, but it'll still go back to doing the same thing. They'll get these business interests that are going in there that don't care about the externalities of their businesses, like the violence and the poverty that they make, as long as they get their oil and gas and figs and salt and whatever else comes from that region. So they can sell in the United States or somewhere else that is actually putting up the investment. So I don't know what direction the people in Egypt should take. Like, should they go back to the old paradigm of having control and doing like having a leader telling them what to do, or should they try an anarchist approach and start to be self-organized and start doing things for themselves? Um, But how do you go from being in a dictatorship where things are controlled through the violence to being in a non-dictatorship, anarchist society. And I'm not talking about chaos. The people seem to mix chaos and anarchy together. I don't necessarily believe that anarchy will slip into chaos. I believe the Indians of North America lived in anarchy. They just had their tribes, and they had their advisors, their leaders and stuff, but they were not any more powerful than anyone else. They were like the wise men, the chiefs and stuff. I'm not sure on that. I would have to look deeper into that. But are they going to go back to doing what they did in the beginning, giving these leaders the power to bring in the more businesses, to start trumping up these externalities, to screw the people over again? Or should the people self-organize? I heard that the people in that region, when all the hell broke loose, they self-organized into kind of their own police force for their neighborhoods. They set up guards, and these people weren't getting paid. These people were doing it because they wanted to protect their property, their stuff, their community. So they started to organize. They started to ask for identification. And these aren't people that were chosen and given little certificates to be part of this police force. These were people that were doing what was necessary and needed. So and they were helping each other out. Girls were getting on the street and cleaning up the street, and they were asking them, like, why are you doing this? And they're going, this is my community. This is where I live. I'm not going to live like this. I want to clean this up. It might have only been like 3 or 4, but everybody else is preoccupied with the violence that is coming down on them, and that is from the government at hand. That is from paid thugs from the prisons. That's from people that are just assholes. It's like not just one thing, it's a mixture of things. It's the whole mentality behind it. I'm not there. I cannot even pretend to know what these people are feeling. I cannot even pretend to have an understanding. But they're pissed. And how much of this is control and how much is it out of control? All I'm doing is hoping the best, because I would love to see something in that region. Hey, everything came out of that region. Like, Egypt was where the pyramids were made, and they thought about the mind and the processes of the mind. Maybe this is where it will all start. Maybe Egypt is the tipping point of pushing humanity in the direction it needs to go. Maybe we will see that self-organization instead of top-down, it becomes bottom-up organization, and it will probably take a while. It cannot be, even though this is violent, it's nowhere near as violent as it could be. Was it in Russia they would just walk out and slaughter everybody? They haven't done that. So something is going on with the people. Because if they were to do that, more than 1 million people would walk out into the streets. I think a lot of people would come out now, since we all have eyes on it. And I hope they would. I hope I would. But I'm just hoping the best for these people. I can't even fathom what some of them are going through. Anyways, that's just my thoughts on what's going on in Egypt. In other words, I have no fucking clue.